District Governor Pubudu, District Governor-elect Jerome Rajendran, past President of Rotary International K.R. Ravindran, Rotary International Director-elect Raju Subramaniam, Chairman of this District Training Assembly, past President Satyajit, District Training Facilitator Krish Rajendran, District Governor's nominee, my dear friends in Rotary. It gives me immense pleasure to be a part of this District Training Assembly, and I'm very happy to be back at Sri Lanka after a long, long gap. I must thank past President Rotary International K.R. Ravindran for inviting me to speak, and your District Governor nominee for accepting me to be addressing this assembly. Now, I'm going to speak from notes because I would like to make use of the 20 minutes given to me to convey to you as much as I can on the topic, Lead with Dignity. I believe there was a meeting like this, and a motivational speaker came up and said, the best part of my life was spent in the arms of a woman who was not my wife. And people looked up. There was anxiety all over. And he said, she was my mother. There was a sigh of relief. Now, he wanted to share this with his family one day during dinner time, and he went back, and during dinner time, after 2 rounds of whiskey, he came to the dining table. His wife and 2 children were seated, and then he said, I would like to tell you something very interesting. And he said that the best part of my life was spent in the arms of a woman who was not my wife. The wife became furious, the children became anxious, and then he said, after pausing for a while, he said, I forget who that woman was. Now, what happens, sometimes your memory might let you down, and that's exactly the reason why I always choose to speak from notes. It's a pleasure to be back in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has gone through difficult times. I know COVID-19, followed by the setback that you had in this country, but I must congratulate your District Governor Pubudu for having provided your district with excellent leadership during these difficult times. And I think it's very difficult to lead when there are several challenges going on around, and I must compliment her. A CNN journalist heard about an old Jewish man in Jerusalem who had been going to the Western Wall to pray twice a day, every day, for a long, long time. That would make good news, she decided, and she drove to the Western Wall, and sure enough, there was an elderly gentleman praying away. She watched him for a while, and then after an hour or so, she just approached him and asked him for an interview. She said, Rebecca Smith from the CNN. Sir, how long have you been praying? How long have you been coming to this Western Wall to pray? And he said, 60 years. 60 years, that is amazing, she said. And what do you pray for? He said, I pray for peace between Christians, Jews, and Muslims. I pray for all the hatred to stop, and I pray for all the children to grow up in safety and friendship. And I pray that all the wars in the world should come to an end. The journalist asked, so how do you feel after doing this for so long? The old man said, like I'm talking to a bloody wall. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this is leadership today calls for a lot of patience and perseverance. And when you pray that wars should come to an end, I'm reminded of the fact that every war, like any other war, is a war to end wars. There were days when weapons were manufactured to fight wars. Today, wars are manufactured to sell weapons. Poor leadership is the reason why we have never been able to bring peace into this world. And the topic for today is to lead with dignity. This is not confined just to Rotary, but it is applicable to every leader across the globe. Truth is difficult to be spoken. It's very difficult these days to speak the truth. No one wants to speak the truth. No one wants to listen to the truth. And no one wants truth to prevail. Therefore, the first most important quality required if you want to lead with dignity is that you have to be truthful as a leader. As I said earlier, patience and perseverance are the most important qualities. And Rotary is a very peculiar organization compared to several other organizations. For any organization to be well run and well managed, we insist on good leadership and teamwork. When it comes to leadership, Rotarians have mastered the art of becoming a leader, but they are found wanting when it comes to being a leader. The purpose of a district training assembly and programs like this are meant to inculcate in us leadership qualities. When it comes to teamwork, in arithmetic, people say 1 + 1 is equal to 2. In motivation, people say 1 + 1 is greater than 1. In Rotary, I found that 1 + 1 is less than 1. The reason is because we have been generally an underperforming organization. For the kind of membership that we have, I think the levels of performance have been far beyond the expected levels. I remember a friend of mine who said, when he talked about Rotary, he said, your organization doesn't have a recruitment problem, it has a retention problem caused by a leadership problem. And I want you to understand this. We talk about membership growth, we talk about membership retention, but then we must understand that leadership problem is the cause for many of the problems that we are facing in Rotary. Poor leadership can push people out of Rotary. People leave Rotary when leadership becomes ineffective, when there is lackluster leadership. The quality of leadership will also depend on the quality of membership. The quality of membership is all about you and me. We are the ones who constitute the membership. And how do we become better is the question. When you talk about membership, improving the quality of membership, I think the most important thing is that each and every one of us must attempt to become a better human being. We talk about community service, we talk about projects, but I must tell you that the most important project that you and I can engage in is to be a good human being. That's the first most important community service. Everything else comes next. Whatever we do does not matter as much as having to be human in all that we do. There are a few questions that I would like to raise. I want each one of you to ask yourself before accepting your leadership roles in Rotary. Why am I a Rotarian? The purpose of being in Rotary. How does it make you a different individual? Has Rotary membership made you a better human being? Ask yourself this question. Would you have been better? Because of being in Rotary, have you become a better person? That's the first question. Why am I a Rotarian? How am I a Rotarian? Is it because I pay a subscription to a Rotary club? Is it because I wear a Rotary lapel pin? Is it because I attend district conferences, assemblies, training seminars like this? That's another question that I want you to ask yourself. How are you a Rotarian? And where am I a Rotarian? Is it only at the Rotary meetings, or are we Rotarians always? We often say that we must put Rotary to work in the places where we work. Are we doing that? That's a question that I want each one of you to ask yourselves. Are we putting Rotary to work in the places where we work? And the last, but most important question that I want to ask yourselves, am I a Rotarian? Now, this is a question that I want all of you to ask yourselves. Am I a Rotarian? I've always asked this question to myself. Are we attempting to be a Rotarian, or are we pretending to be a Rotarian? The genuineness of being a Rotarian is very, very, very important. We sometimes become everything else in Rotary, but never get to be a Rotarian. I hear people telling me that I've become a club president, I've become this, I've become that, I've become a director, so many things. But have you been a Rotarian is the first question that you must ask yourselves. I remember I read a book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, which said, I was dying. It was titled, I Was Dying, and it said, I was dying first to finish school and start college. Then I was dying to finish college and start working. Then I was dying to get married and have children. Then I was dying for my children to settle down, get married, go to work. Then I was dying to retire. And now, when I'm really dying, I suddenly realize I forgot to live. Now, this is the feeling that most of us get. Towards the end, we suddenly realize we forget to live. Now, in Rotary also it happens. Sometimes, I'm dying to become a member of a Rotary club, then I'm dying to become a president of a Rotary club, then I'm dying to become an assistant governor, then I'm dying to become a district governor, then I'm dying to become an RI director, then I'm dying to become the president of Rotary International, and at the fag end of my career in Rotary, I suddenly realized I forgot to be a Rotarian. Now, this must not happen to all of us. I think it is important to remember that if you really want to lead with dignity, you must practice Rotary in your personal lives. Dignified leadership, my dear friends, must begin from the grassroots level. The future of Rotary will depend on the quality of the current leadership. Building leadership qualities must begin at the club level. A club committee chair today might end up becoming the president of Rotary International 10 or 15 years from now. Wrong guidance and lack of dignified and decent leadership can lead to a disaster. We are already experiencing it in Rotary. That's what makes me say that district-level training seminars are extremely significant and must be taken seriously. In order to be an effective leader, you have to be both ethical and empathetic. You have to be ethical in order to become a leader. You don't have to wait to become a leader in order to become ethical. I'm reminded of Abraham Lincoln, who became the President of the United States of America. Long before he became the president, he was a practicing advocate. One day, a client of his approached him and said, I have committed a murder, but I have enough evidence to prove that I have not. I want you to argue this case for me and save me from being punished. And he said that you are the best advocate in the town. I want you to argue this case for me. Abraham Lincoln said, okay, you leave the papers with me and come back tomorrow. He went through the papers. The next day, the client came back, and Abraham Lincoln told him, I may not be able to take this case. I will not handle this case for you, because when I argue this case in the court of law, my conscience will keep telling me, Lincoln, you're a liar. Lincoln, you're a liar. And I don't want to live with such a guilty conscience. And the message he conveyed was very, very, very clear. He said, I am prepared to sell my professional time, but not my conscience. This is the kind of ethical behavior that is expected out of every Rotarian. And my dear friends, it was because he was ethical that he ended up becoming the President of the United States of America. I don't know if it will happen now, but it happened those days. Leaders have to focus on being good. That's very true. We're all there to be good, yes. But we must also eliminate the evil. Unfortunately, in Rotary, we have focused on doing good but completely forgotten to eliminate the evil. Getting good things done and getting rid of the evil is the dual responsibility of any leader. I believe there was once a farmer who was spraying insecticides in an apple orchard. A passerby stopped and asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm spraying insecticides." The passerby asked him, "What have you got against the insects? Why are you killing them?" He said, "I'm not against the insects, but I'm for the apples." He said, "If I have to save these apples, I have to necessarily kill these insects." Now, this is something that we have to do as leaders. If you really want Rotary to progress, we must get rid of the evil. If you really want to do good through Rotary, we must attempt to get rid of the evil. Men and women who lack discipline, decorum, and dignity, becoming club presidents, district governors, directors, will seriously influence the quality of leadership at the international level. And that's something that we need to be looking at. We will end up paying a huge price for not nurturing good quality leadership at the club level. Now, leadership is a responsibility. It's not a position, it's not a designation, it's not a title, it's not about power, it's not about being put on the pedestal. It's about responsibility. It's a duty. I don't want any one of you to exchange your dignity for popularity. Rotary, my dear friends, today I find that leadership is becoming a popularity contest. I don't think we should fight for popularity. Doing what you think is good for the organization is more important. Act according to your conscience, lead by example, and make sure that you practice before you preach. Mahatma Gandhi was once asked to counsel a small child to eat food without salt. The parents took the child to Mahatma Gandhi and told him, "The doctors have advised this child to eat food without salt. Why don't you advise the child?" Mahatma Gandhi said, "Please come after 1 week." The parents asked him, why do you need 1 week to advise? Why don't you advise them straight away? He said, "No, let me try eating food without salt for 1 week. If I succeed, then I will advise. Otherwise, I will not." The credibility is more important. Peter Drucker, the management expert and a great author, once said, "There is nothing so useless as doing effectively that which should not be done at all." I sometimes feel that Rotary is becoming highly repetitive. We keep doing the same thing again and again, year after year, for many years. We repeat what we do not repair. Please understand, anything that gets repeated never gets rectified. So we need to understand the good things, let's continue to do. Whatever you think is not good, let's eliminate and start moving in a different direction. As a leader, we have to repeat what is right and rectify what is wrong. Everything is not all wrong with Rotary. But remember, everything is not all right either. Leadership, my dear friends, must remain an asset. It should never become a liability to our organization. I believe there was once a company whose share prices started falling. The chief executive officer became very concerned. He called the public relations officer of the company and told him, when all the other company shares are going up, why is it that our company shares are going down? Now, there's something that you must do seriously about this. The PRO said, okay, and he went back. After a week, the prices of his company shares started rising. The CEO was very, very happy. He called the PRO and he said, very good, you have done a good job, but how did you manage to do it? He said, it's just a simple thing. I said that the CEO of our company is resigning, and the share prices started going up. Now, this is where I want you to understand that sometimes leadership can become a liability. My dear friends, dignified leadership is all about attitude, and attitude is all about the two most important human organs, the brain and the heart. Hidden inside us, not seen, but that's what will decide your inner personality. There was once a balloon seller who was selling balloons. All colorful balloons, the green, the red, the blue, the orange. One little boy ran up to him and said, "Uncle, you're sending up colorful balloons. What if the color of the balloon is black?" And then the balloon seller told him, "My dear son, don't worry. It's not the color of the balloon that makes the balloon fly. It's the helium gas that I'm pumping into it. So what is inside the balloon is more important. The color doesn't matter." So please build your inner personalities. Sharpen your brains, soften your hearts, become more compassionate, become more competent. And as I said earlier, today there is no dearth for intelligence. People are intelligent, but there's a tremendous deficit of integrity. And I must tell you, my dear friends, that intelligence without integrity is even more dangerous than illiteracy. So we must understand that whereas we become more intelligent, we must also become men and women of integrity. Rotary is not our profession. Rotary is not a mere recreation. Rotary is not a pastime. Rotary is a productive engagement opportunity gifted to each one of us by God. Now, we must all become productive Rotarians, performing Rotarians. We don't want full-time Rotarians. Let me conclude by requesting all of you, my dear friends, your family is your first preference. Your profession comes next, but let your third preference in life be Rotary. And that is what will make you a true Rotarian. Please remember that you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to keep your cups full in order to be able to pour to the others. So all of us cannot go back and make a new beginning, but we can always make a brand new ending. Life is like a game of chess. Once the game is over, the king and the pawn go back into the same box. Polio eradication is one of the most important projects of Rotary, but it is something more important. It's called ego eradication. So getting rid of the ego amongst Rotarians is more important than getting rid of polio amongst the people around. Let me conclude by requesting each and every one of you to lead with dignity and make Rotary a truly dignified organization. And by doing so, I'm sure each and every one of you will help your district governor-elect, Jerome Rajendran, to make District 3220 one of the best managed districts in the Rotary world. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a world of difference between a well-managed district and a stage-managed district. Today, I find most districts, at least in India, are stage-managed. I'm sure that Rotary in Sri Lanka has been very well managed. I must compliment each and every one of you for having been a part of it. And I wish and hope and pray that Rotary in Sri Lanka will continue to grow in the years to come. Thank you very much for the opportunity.